Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2020 Land Rover Range Rover. So yes, this is the Mac Daddy, the big Range Rover. So as always, a huge shout out and thank you to Jaguar Land Rover here in downtown Salt Lake for providing us with the Land Rover Range Rover. And before I get into the video, I want you guys just to remember, this one is an HSE with the 5-liter V8. It's pretty much the entry-level package. Just remember that as we're going through all of the options this has. So under the hood of the Range Rover, we have a supercharged 5-liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission, fuel economy 16 around town, and then 21 on the highway, with power outputs being 518 horsepower and then 461 pound-feet of torque. I couldn't find an exact 0 to 60. Everything was completely different, so everything said anywhere from 4.7 seconds to 5.2 seconds. Now let's go over the front end of the Range Rover. So we can actually pop the headlights on just from the key fob, and then you guys get to see what the lights look like while they are on. Press it again and that will shut it back off. You get the giant Range Rover script on the front. You get these signature lights here at the front too. So you've got these little LED accent lights with the full LED headlights, and then you've got little parking sensors down there at the front. But overall, it's just like a massive imposing front end, and it's like definitely like, this is like the signature look for a Range Rover. Let's go over the tire and rim setup. We've got two 75mm tires and 22-inch rims in the front and in the rear, and then this does come standard with the air suspension that can raise and lower both the front and the back of the Land Rover Range Rover. But in terms of the rim design, again, I just feel like it's like classic Range Rover. Like, this car looks exactly like what I think of when I think of a Range Rover, just from like the wheel design to this little panel here on the side. I think that's really cool accenting, and then up to obviously the roof being black, so you've got the black contrast to the white body, which is definitely an interesting look. And then here's kind of like your full side view on it. Here's a quick look at the key fob. It does say Land Rover on the back. Then you have your unlock, your lock, and then the light button, and then obviously the button to pop open the rear. So you just press that and it'll open up, and notice how it opens up in two parts. You do get the little kind of like tailgate seating, which I think is awesome. Now let's come into the rear of the Range Rover. So first off, we do have a couple little like charging stations back here, which I think is crazy. You get like a full power outlet, and you get another little 12-volt right there. The cargo cover is already built in, so it just covers everything for you automatically. And then yes, you get the little tailgate, so you could sit on this, and other functions that are pretty cool. So you do have this little function right here, which will lower down the seats or raise them. So I can press it. You do have to hold it down for it to do it, and then notice it stops as soon as I stop holding it. I can press that function, and then that'll bring the seat back up. So it's 100% automatic, which I think is awesome. All of your floor mats are back here, and then finally, I can't lift this up with one hand, sorry, but you do have this little leather strap, or actually we'll try to lift it up. There we go. You guys can kind of see the tire underneath there, but it's just cool how they use such like a nice leather strap just to get to the spare tire. When you are done with everything, you just press that button, and then notice that it'll do it all automatically for you, which again, that's such a cool look. It's super unique, but yeah, that's the trunk. Now let's quickly go over the design in the rear. So you get those like signature little square taillights in the back. I do have those popped on for a second. HSE 525, and the 525 is going to let you know roughly where the horsepower is around on this. Parking sensors all along the bottom, and then notice the exhaust tips are kind of pointing downwards, which is pretty interesting. But that is the full rear on the Range Rover. Coming into the back, you do this keyless entry, but something that's even cooler is the doors are soft close. So watch this. You just have to basically put the door up, and then it'll do the rest of the work for you. I think that's super like luxury. But looking at the door in the back, your window control is up in this little area. You actually do get seat adjustments for the back that you can actually control. That is to let you know if someone's in the blind spot before you open up the door. And then again, we got the Meridian sound system back here. Now here are the seats in the back of the Range Rover. Beautiful white leather with really nice perforations. The feel on the leather is very premium. Notice that they're kind of like in a reclined position. This is supposed to be kind of like luxury in the back, and you actually have like felt all along here. Now let's pop in, even though I probably don't deserve to be in something this nice. And now that I'm in here, it's really comfortable. I am going to close the door just briefly, so you guys can kind of get an idea of sound insulation. I do love the door handle. Now the back of the seat, you do get like a little storage pocket right there. This does have 4 different climate zones, so you have 2 for the rear, 2 for the front, so again 4 total. And then you can see all those little areas where you can charge devices here in the back. And then This actually pulls down. It's a couple cup holders, and then you can press this and you get a little bit of extra storage. Now the part that I actually love about the rear that's kind of random is the carpeting. So this carpeting just kind of has like a nice kind of like look and feel to it. Just kind of like feels really plush. In terms of room, this is not even this is the short wheelbase, and I have so much leg room. I'm 5'11". I mean, you guys can see I'm like lounging here, so headroom's fine, and I'll probably see you guys in about 30 minutes after I take a nap back here, just saying. Coming up to the front, you do get keyless entry again, and you get that same cool like soft close function on the front doors as well. But here is the door panel in the front, super similar design wise to the rear, so you get all the nice stitching, soft touch padding pretty much everywhere. Your seat adjustments are going to be on the side of the door instead of on the side of the seat, and then all of like your window controls are up here. Your mirror controls are actually this little keypad that you press. It's pretty interesting, has like nice little feedback on it. And then these are the seats in the front of the Range Rover. So again, really nice seats. You've got perforations all throughout, and just the feel of them is just very high quality. There is the pedal layout at the bottom, and then the steering wheel adjustment, by the way, is on the other side. Here's what the paddles look like, and well, there's one more look before we pop in. Now we just got to start up the Mac Daddy Range Rover, so everything will kind of come to life on the gauges and in the center screen, and well, ready to look like a baller for the next like 20 minutes. Here is the steering wheel in the Range Rover. So over here you've got all of your controls for the cruise control. On the other side is going to be your controls for the center screen, and then your voice commands, volume controls, all that. I love how they have stitching all along the airbag, and then they also have the stitching all along the center. Very smooth touch, but the steering wheel just in general looks and feels very premium just with all the materials, even like this little metal touches at the bottom of it. And here's the little center gauge cluster. Notice that you do have the little map view right there. So I've mentioned this in a bunch of other videos, but it's cool they actually give you like 3D representations of buildings, so you guys can see the like clock tower right there, and well, now it is in front of us. So it's pretty cool that they actually do that on the navigation. Now, other than that, going through the other menus, it's super similar to the other Range Rovers that I have reviewed. Range Rovers / Land Rovers, same brand, you guys know what I mean. But it's pretty much the same with all of that. Now, in terms of the rest of the gauges, you guys can see the speedo, and then you can also see the RPMs. If I go through the different drive modes, so for example, I'm going to go into the dynamic mode right here. Notice that it shows up with a little picture of it. It shows the drive mode itself. I can go over into eco as well, and it just kind of shows different pictures for the different drive modes, basically the conditions that you're doing. And I think it's kind of interesting, some of the pictures they choose. Like that's normal, and then this one over here is the grass gravel, and obviously it pulls up with that. Oh, I went over too many, of course. And then you have the mud ruts, and again, it kind of shows that same thing. And then this is the sand program, and again, it shows the locker in the rear. And then finally, you've got the rock crawl. Well, I just want to quickly show you guys the camera on the infotainment system before we get into the rest of it. So this is the backup camera that pops up. There is the resolution on it, and the mirrors do automatically tilt down when you do pop it into reverse, just so you guys know. In terms of the rest of the views on the camera, if you actually go over to the camera tab that's just right there, it shows you quite a few different views on it. You can basically just pick through on that little menu. So for example, if I want to see out the front, just have to press that. If I want to see a different angle, just have to press that. So really good camera system, really easy to use as well. Now, with the rest of the infotainment system, I've gone over this infotainment system several times, so I'm just going to kind of go over the highlights. You get this really nice bar down at the bottom that basically is a shortcut to everything. Notice you have all these different features that you can go. So like you've got a valet mode. For example, the seats, that's pretty cool, because if you go into the seats, notice that you've got all of the different settings for the seats themselves. I mean, they're super configurable in general. We'll go over some more features on the other screen, but yeah, really easy to use, good response time, and I like the look of it. Now here is the second screen, and I really like this screen. It's easy to use. So like for example, I can go over to the climate, and then it's pretty cool. You can press this in, and that'll take you over to the seat control. So it's really easy to use, and it's cool, just like all of the little functions that this screen has. At the top, that is the vehicle settings. So this is where you go through those different drive modes I was telling you about. So for example, if I want to go over into this mode, I can just touch it on that little screen right there, and then Boom, it'll tell me what to do to get into that drive mode. Really easy to use in general, and I just think it's cool on the graphics as well. And then notice you can turn the auto stop start off via this screen as well, and then you got like the air conditioning controls right there at the bottom. This is that selector for the 8-speed automatic, and notice that for you to get over into the shift mode where you can shift the gears yourself, you do have to actually push the dial down. You can't just twist it, and then that's where you actually use these little paddle shifters, is when you're on that shift mode. Now this is just what covers the cup holders, this really nice trim, and just look how like beautiful that is in the sunlight. It's got this like nice texture on it as well, but don't leave too many fingerprints on it. Do get the stability control right here. This is like your off-road cruise control. Now this is the drive mode select, so if you push it in, it's auto. You can't actually select drive modes. You have to push this up, and then this dial will go through the different drive modes. That's for the air suspension to raise and lower, and then you got your locker, and you've got the hill descent control, and then you've got the low gearing, and then your little parking brake right there. Now this is the center console, which is actually a refrigerator. So you have your regular little stuff so you can charge devices, but if you pick this up fully, notice that you can press this little button right here, and then that will turn on the air conditioning for this little box. So you can use this as a center console, or you can use it as a mini refrigerator. I think that's just such a cool little feature. Now the glove box, obviously those two buttons up there, those are what open it, but most people kind of will probably like fumble around initially and be like, hey, where's the buttons, or how to open it. So this one will open up the top one, and that's just kind of like a little bit of storage. You notice that it is kind of like spring loaded, so it'll just kind of go back into place. You have to hold it. Now the second one is just a traditional glove box, and there actually is really nice like leather padding over both of them, so like you guys can kind of notice it just feels and looks nice on the outside too. Up top here we do have the sunroof controls, which if you just press it lightly, that'll do it in little parts. If you hold it down, then that'll close it fully. So pretty neat. I like the look of the shade, and this one has that cream interior, and the headliner matches it, so I think it's just really nice. You've got the contrast between like the little darker elements and the rest of it's cream, and I think it's just like a really nice luxurious look. Now before I show pricing in any way, I want you guys to guess in the comment section below how much this kind of like entry level Land Rover Range Rover would cost. Now you guys can freeze a frame if you want to go over the standard equipment, and then over here on the optional equipment, and by the way, you guys should have already guessed on pricing, that's not the total price though, but here's the optional equipment. Like that refrigerator in the front, for example, is an option, so this one is pretty decked out. And well, there is your total MSRP, $119,569. Let's take this bad boy Range Rover out and see how she drives. Let's quickly talk about visibility here in the Mac Daddy Range Rover before we set off. That's just fun to say, sorry. But visibility over the hood, it's actually really easy to see. I mean, the windshield is just absolutely massive, and it's just this like big square hood, so it ends off abruptly. There's visibility through your side mirror and then the other mirror, and then visibility all throughout the rear, which not surprisingly, I mean, it's really good. It's a bunch of giant square windows because, well, the Land Rover Range Rover is a giant square vehicle. So that all being said, well, let's set off. Time to be a baller for like the next 5 minutes while I drive around the Mac Daddy Range Rover. And the thing that I hope to emphasize is just how much equipment this has. And again, this is like the base model. Like I know this one has a couple upgrades, right? It's the HSE package, which isn't truly like the base package, and it has the 5-liter V8, which isn't truly the base engine, but still, this is pretty much on like the lower tier for Range Rovers, and it has so much stuff. And there's another one that's got more options, that's more expensive. Like, it just blows my mind just like how crazy this actually is. But initially setting off, this is like such a luxury car. Like, I can just tell you straight away, it's so incredibly smooth, like just over everything. It just rides over, like I just went over train tracks, and like, yeah, I know they're there, but it just rides over. It's so smooth, it's so quiet. Even though this has a 5-liter supercharged V8 with over 500 horsepower, I mean, the engine's actually really quiet from the interior as well, and so just overall, I mean, it's crazy how comfortable this is. Now I am going to go over into the eco mode. I was in the normal mode. I just want to see if that mode drives any differently, all that kind of stuff. Obviously I can't test the off-road mode, sadly, but again, I doubt anyone buying this is going to take it off-road. Most people buy this because they want the status that comes with it, and I mean, that's okay, right? It's one of those vehicles that, even though it's super capable, it's still really cool even if you don't take it off-road. In the eco mode, I'm not really noticing a difference. Throttle response, I'm noticing it does kind of lag a little bit, so you can push into the pedal a little bit further in the eco mode, so it's attempting to help you save on fuel economy a little bit with that eco mode. And again, super smooth, super quiet, just this is such a good luxury car. Now I am going to pop it into the dynamic mode before we get in the interstate, and something that I want to mention is the seating position before we get our little acceleration. You just have such like a high, like commanding seating position. Ooh, it got kind of loud. That V8 sounds good, but you just have this like king of the road feel, like this, you're just above everything, and it's just like, again, it's just like this nice, like you feel like you have like presence on the road. That's like the best way to describe it, is just sitting in this vehicle. I'm just like, plebes in your little commuter cars and minivans, like I don't know how to explain it. Like this vehicle, it feels special. But I'll put it over into the shift mode. We'll get a couple downshifts here and an acceleration. Oh, ooh, yeah, it is definitely quick. Wow. Yeah, this is powerful. I am super impressed. Like, geez, it's quicker than I thought it would be. Like, yeah, 500 horsepower is a lot, but at the same time, like, I'm thinking, okay, this is a big heavy SUV. I'm gonna let this Audi pass me. Okay, this is like a big heavy SUV, and so I'm thinking, okay, it's gonna be quick, but it's not gonna be that quick, and it's that quick. That's all I have to say. Well, now I've got a bunch of space in front of me and over 500 horsepower, so we're gonna see how that goes. Gosh, that is incredible. It has so much power and torque, and it's just like, boom, instantly. And the gear shifts are like just downshift, boom. Like, it's happening instantaneous. And I actually want to see what the body roll is like here around this little corner before we get into summing things up. This actually handles pretty well. Like, you can tell it's a big SUV, but I'm pretty sure this weighs as much as my Raptor, if not more. And I feel like this handles better than my Raptor, and it feels like lighter and smaller than my Raptor. So handling's actually really good, but it's the steer. Don't get me wrong, like the steering is very light and effortless. So it's not like you have this like crazy direct like sports car steering. That's definitely not a thing. But what you do have is this like really comfortable steering rack and what I would consider just like good handling. Let's get into summing things up with the Land Rover Range Rover and just my overall impressions with this. Overall, I'm super impressed. I understand that a lot of people are going to mention the price tag on this, but you are paying a premium for the name, not only the brand, but just the fact that this is the Land Rover Range Rover. Like, this is the top of the line. Like, if you're like the ultimate baller, like this is the SUV that you get. And so yes, you are paying a little bit of a premium for the name, but this has so much standard equipment. It has so much capability. I love this 5-liter V8. I haven't driven the 4-cylinder turbo engine. I imagine that that one's probably going to be adequate in this car, but it might feel a little bit sluggish. Again, I have to drive it to see. But I think this 5-liter V8 is a perfect pairing with it. It has so much power. It's perfect with this vehicle. And again, this is just such a good luxury SUV, and I'm sure that it's super capable on the off-road. And it's just, again, everything about this, it's super capable. It's really fun to drive. It's really comfortable. It just does so many different things. And so I really do think this is worth the money. And not only that, I think this is such a cool SUV. And I'm excited to review one of the like extended wheelbases and then like a fully loaded one, because I'm excited to see what another $100,000 buys you. There we have it, everyone. The 2020 Land Rover Range Rover in the HSE package with the 5-liter V8. Again, a huge shout and thank you to the Range Rover / Jaguar here in downtown Salt Lake for providing us with this Land Rover. Definitely check out their inventory in the link below if you're in the market for one. I will see all of you in that next video.